Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another Hammer Horror Blu-ray update. Today I've got an interesting mix for you of standalone movies. These aren't part of any series, they're just one-offs featuring various monsters, some of which are some of Hammer's earlier monster movies before they really kind of settled into doing things like the Dracula series and the Frankenstein series and the Mummy movies and all the usual stuff that they're known for. But they did a whole bunch of standalone ones in the early to mid 60s as well, kind of putting out feelers, seeing what kind of monsters people wanted to see in movies, I guess. So they did kind of a mix. And yeah, some pretty cool stuff. So let's check it out today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. So first off, we have what some say is Christopher Lee's greatest performance from his entire history with Hammer Horror, and that is Rasputin the Mad Monk. Yes, the completely historically accurate tale of Rasputin. Not really, but apparently a really fun movie, and worth it just to see Christopher Lee absolutely chewing up the scenery as everyone's favorite lunatic from history. Let's take a quick look at the packaging and see what extras are on this edition. There we go. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about this one, so definitely looking forward to checking it out. Always down for some masterful acting from Christopher Lee. Quite a load of extras on here, too. I mean, they could have done this as a collector's edition, honestly, with the amount of special features that are on here. It's pretty impressive. And we have just the disc art, or the art from the cover on the disc. And then here, this lovely picture of Rasputin threatening a young lady. There we go. So there you go. Quite a nice selection of stuff there. I especially like that they have the World of Hammer episodes, sort of going into the history of the studio and the people behind it and stuff like that. And just for the sake of reference, this particular film came out, of course, in 1966. That's significant. I'll explain why. Well, you'll kind of see why as we go through. Next up, we have the Reptile. Yeah, the dreaded curse of the Urang Sanko turned her into a slithering snake. So this is one of those cursed person is transformed into a horrifying creature type stories. And this is also from 1966. You may notice a pattern emerging. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the packaging and the extras. And kind of a similar cover design with the Reptile. Very cool. So you're going to get some very different kinds of monsters from the classic monsters that Hammer often did. There we go. And then if we slide this out. Oh. Scary. That would have scared the crap out of me as a kid, like just looking at that. You know, the way the monster looks in this is just so freaky, you know. So I should mention, pretty cool that this actually has two aspect ratios. Got 1.66 to 1, which is a pretty standard widescreen aspect ratio in the UK, and the 1.85 to 1 aspect ratio, which is more common in North America. So very cool that they include both of those on this. I always look at things like this as kind of like, you know, people being turned into monsters, kind of like early versions of body horror, you know, being turned into something horrifying. There you go. So another episode of World of Hammer, very cool. And also interesting to note that this is offered in two aspect ratios, 1.66 to 1, which is the original European aspect ratio, and 1.85 to 1, which is the more common American aspect ratio. So pretty cool that they offer both. There's a few titles like that Scream Factory does that, where they offer the different aspect ratios, which is cool. Next up, we have Joan Fontaine in The Witches. Yes, because we all know that witches are pure evil all the time, forever. Yeah, well, you know, back in the day, witches were a staple of horror, and this one is no exception. And surprise, surprise, it's from 1966. Yeah, Hammer was really cranking them out in the mid-60s. They weren't messing around. It's like, hey, people like horror. Let's make lots of it. So, very cool. Let's take a look at the packaging and extras on this one. Here we go. Does witchcraft exist today? And if it does, well, you know it's just evil. No. Wicca is actually probably one of the more innocent religions out there. It's just all about loving nature and stuff. But yeah, not a ton of special features on here, but you know, a couple of good things on there. Then we have that. And we actually have a completely reversible cover on this one. So very different design. The Devil's Own alternate title as well. There we go. So same artwork on the back. But yeah, interesting. So The Witches is also, of course, presented in, where is it here? There it is. The original 1.66 to 1 aspect ratio. I find they're doing that with most of the Hammer releases, is giving us the original UK aspect ratio, which does open up the picture area a little bit more than the more heavily cropped 1.85 to 1 that's more common in North America. So it's nice to have that full image as it would have appeared originally in the UK. So yeah, not as many goodies on this one as the other ones, but still really cool to have this one because it's definitely one of the significant standalones. Next up, predating Night of the Living Dead by 2 years, we have The Plague of the Zombies. Yeah, pretty cool. So this is still kind of the, I think it's kind of the voodoo type zombies. Oh, no, actually it isn't. It's flesh-eating, walking corpses. So this is literally The Living Dead before The Living Dead. So very cool. Hammer one-upping George Romero. So yeah, apparently this is a really fun one, especially if you like a good old-fashioned zombie movie. Yeah, obviously I hadn't seen it yet because otherwise I would have known it wasn't voodoo zombies. Oh well. When was this one? Oh yeah, 1966. You may notice a pattern here. Yeah. Anyway, let's take a look at the packaging and extras on this one. And then here we go with the Plague of the Zombies. That's a pretty striking cover. Bit of nightmare fuel there. It's very cool. Once again presented in the original UK aspect ratio of 1.66 to 1. It's very nice. And then here, same artwork on the disc. But then we have completely alternate artwork here. Doomed to walk the earth as slaves to the Lord of the Living Dead. Called from the grave by a mystic voodoo cult. Okay, well there you go. So it's basically a mix of voodoo zombies and undead zombies. And then eventually it was kind of one or the other, with Night of the Living Dead onward. So there you go. Pretty cool. So yeah, very nice addition here, and once again we have yet another episode of the World of Hammer. Very cool. Gotta love it. Finally, last but most certainly not least, a title not from Scream Factory, but actually from Kino Lorber. We have The Man Who Could Cheat Death from 1966? No, 1959 for this one. But needless to say, 1966 was a very prolific year for Hammer. I may have intentionally grouped these ones together just for this update because of that. So this one is quite literally about a man who may have discovered the secret to immortality. And it's also directed by the legendary Terence Fisher, who directed some of the all-time great Hammer films. Some people who've left comments on some of my other Hammer videos have said, the only Hammer films worth seeing are the ones directed by Terence Fisher. They actually typed that part out. But, yeah, I beg to differ. I think they're all fun, even the not-as-good ones. I don't know. Some people just take their cheese way too seriously. Anyway, that said, Terence Fisher is definitely one of the better directors and does some pretty cool stuff with his films. Just beautiful cinematography, editing, shot composition, all that good stuff. Anyway, let's take a quick look at this one. Packaging, extras, and all that good stuff. The Man Who Could Cheat Death. That's a pretty disturbing cover, too. Almost a little bit of a Dorian Gray vibe, like handsome and beautiful and young, but this is his real face, or something like that. Anyway, looking forward to checking this out. Never seen it before. See a strapping young Christopher Lee there. Very cool. This is also presented in the original UK aspect ratio, 1.66 to 1. I know Kino Lorber is quite good with that sort of thing as well. And as always with the Kino Lorber Studio Classics, nothing special for the disc art, just the standard studio logo and stuff like that they use. It's all about the artwork on the packaging with them. Although all their spines look like this. So it all kind of looks uniform on your shelf, but it's, I don't know, not as interesting. They do great transfers, though. These are really nice editions, and they've been bringing out a lot of obscure stuff. So it's nice to see them stepping up and giving us some more of the Hammer titles as well to add to our Hammer collections. So there you go. Not a ton of extras, but definitely some nice items on there. Alrighty, so to sum up, we have Rasputin the Mad Monk, The Reptile, The Witches, The Plague of the Zombies, and The Man Who Could Cheat Death. So some great standalone thrills and chills there from the early days of Hammer. Well, early to mid days of Hammer, I guess. So, yeah, that is it for this update. Hope you enjoyed. If you'd like to add any of these to your collection, I will, of course, include Amazon links in the description below. Thank you very much to those of you who use those links because it does help to support the show. I really appreciate that. So, big thanks to you for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors. Be sure to catch me on Twitch. I stream just about every day. And I will see you next time. Until then, sayonara.